Yo, what's up, dogs? I went and saw Bob Marley, One Love. And honestly, I saw this movie on the Sunday, like the day after I saw Madam Web, because I needed a palate cleanse. I just needed to like realign the chakras of the movie watching that I do. And honestly, I wasn't even going to go see this movie. I didn't have any interest in this movie. The trailer didn't interest me. I was just kind of like, I'll see it if I see it, kind of thing, you know? And I've been on this earth a long time. I know Bob Marley. I've watched pretty much all of his documentaries that have come out. And especially if you're around, I grew up in a family that loved the Greenleaf, you know what I'm saying? And in high school, you're traveling down that Greenleaf path, you know what I'm saying? You're going to encounter Bob Marley on this expedition. So I am very familiar with the history and lore of this legendary figure of the music industry. And I honestly was just like, I don't need to watch this film. But I went, okay, and I bought my ticket online, standard definition, classic viewing screen. And when I got my ticket online, only a handful of people had tickets. Like, it was like maybe 8, maybe 10. And I thought, oh, that's going to suck. Not a lot of people really interested in this film. However, when I got to the theater, I had myself a tea, and getting into the actual auditorium where the movie's being played, there's like 50 people sitting there. I'm like, I was excited. It got me hyped. I was like, oh, okay, we're going to have a good viewing experience here. And we did. By the time the movie started, I think at least 70 people were in there because there were still people coming in when I was sitting down. And I have my notes here. I'm going to be honest with you, thoroughly surprised at how much I enjoyed this movie. And maybe that's because of the Madam Web experience, made me enjoy this movie even more. And maybe on a second viewing, I might be like, yeah, okay, this isn't as good as I thought it was. But at that moment in time of seeing this movie, I had a good time. I enjoyed myself. And I got the notes here to talk about. It's not even a lot of notes because, like, it was a decent movie. Like, it's good. It's right in the center of just, I had a good time with this film. The people around me had a good time with this film. And sometimes that's all you need. It's just a good vibe. You know what I'm saying? So let's get on to the story. The spoiler warning is up. From this point on, I'm ruining the movie for you, so you've been warned. Now, the story is a very simple story, I think. We start off with Bob Marley. I think it's like 1976. I'm not even born yet. You know what I'm saying? And he's on this. He makes this announcement for performing like this free concert in Jamaica to unify the warring factions that are going on in the Jamaicas, right? And this is his mission, his quest for peace. And everyone around him is kind of like, hey, dog, I don't think you should do that because like it could put you in harm's way. And he's like, I don't care. The power of the music, the message I'm trying to put out there, I want these wars to stop amongst my people. We need to be like united and together in unity and all that jazz. So he pushes forward to do this concert. And lo and behold, one night, assassins show up to his compound and shoot him and his band members. Like, they try to assassinate him. They shoot his wife Rita, and this is a big thing. And his I think his manager or friend, Don, I think his name's Don, he takes a bunch of bullets, like saves Bob Marley really. And this is where Bob is kind of like distraught and upset with the atmosphere and chaos that is going on in Jamaica, where I think he still performed the concert, but he had hesitations on finishing the concert because of the 2 bullet shots that he took. He kind of felt like it's time to move on. So he decides to tell his family that, go to Delaware, live with my mom. I'm going to go to London and I'm going to create a new song, like a new album. That's his new quest now. Is like, I need to create the anthem of the world. And that's pretty much the rest of the movie, is his quest of exploring the Exodus album that he creates, and then eventually goes back to performing one last concert in Jamaica to unify the people once again. And that's the story of this whole movie, is that little blip of his life. And I think I wanted more of a biopic film of like his childhood and his like teen. I think I just wanted more of that, and not just this little slice of life of his life, you know what I'm saying? And it's like near the end of his life when Exodus is coming out, which I don't think I'm born yet at the time of Exodus. I can't remember when the album comes out. But it's a good story though, and it's a good interesting spot where they focus. And throughout the film, they do some flashbacks of like Bob Marley as a child, Bob Marley as a teenager, Bob Marley being discovered with the Whalers, the Wailing Whalers, and there's little blips of that. And I actually found that content of the movie a little bit more interesting than the actually. You know what? I like the whole movie as the whole thing together, but I was really drawn to like those moments in time where you got to grow with Bob Marley and see what his life was like growing up in a very troubled, war-torn Jamaica, and I thought that there's an interesting story in there to be told. So let's get into the good here. And like I already was just ranting about here, I did enjoy the story, and I enjoyed the little blips of his life, and like we even learned about like Rastafarian, just a little bit of like what his religious background is, and we don't go a lot deep into Rastafarianism. And if you do follow the green leaf and you go down the rabbit hole of Rastafarianism, that is a part of that sometimes, is like and I've already researched it before. It's not for me, but there's elements of it that I'm like, interesting concepts we have here. However, it's interesting, but we don't go too deep into those aspects of his life. Like I really like the sequence that we show Bob Marley and the Wailing Wailers. This is the Wailers before they become the Wailers, right? Or Bob Marley and the Wailers, right? And how they were discovered in this little sound studio for performing like these old jingles, right? And then they performed their own hit. And I just wanted to see that world for some reason. I wanted to see that world of like, what was it like for Bob Marley as a teenager in Jamaica trying to make it as a teenager, like be a teen pop star in a sense. And I was drawn to that. I was like, ooh, I want more of this, But in general, the whole story is really good from start to finish. And the movie flies by. Like, it doesn't feel like it's dragging. And I think that goes into my next point. I think the music in this movie is fantastic. Obviously, it's a Bob Marley movie with Bob Marley music in it. You're going to be there jamming away. And honestly, every time a Bob Marley banger dropped, my audience was into it. Like you could just see in the shadows, right? Everyone's just bobbing along, just digging it. You know what I'm saying? And I enjoyed it. I think they laid out the music perfectly, just to string you along. And some of my other favorite scenes in this movie are where Bob Marley is exploring the sounds of Exodus and the creation of the music that's going to be on that album, and the song creation and his trials and tribulations to find the sound and find the song, you know what I'm saying, and talking about his experiences and stuff like that. I got really drawn into that, and I thought that was also a really good nugget to explore of like, oh, he's in the sound room like recording this song or this song and that song. And I thought that was really cool, and it just felt like some genuine heartfelt moments between Bob Marley and at times with his wife, played by Lashana Lynch, who plays Rita Marley. And I should just note here that Kingsley Ben-Adir plays Bob Marley, and I'll put this in my note for the third good thing here to bridge the gap, as to say. I think those two actors together were great. They shared a really good chemistry as, husband and wife. I think we should have explored their relationship a little bit more, because it's not chaotic free. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of trials and tribulations in that relationship. And I think both actors really shone through these performances. And I thought Kingsley Ben-Adir really, like, he made me feel like that I was watching a Bob Marley. Like, I didn't feel like he was too over the top in a sense. And same with Rita Marley. Like, I liked them. And there's a good conflict in this movie. And she's like his grounding rock at times where he goes off a little too much with the fame, and she like brings him back to reality. So there's a very good loving relationship in here. And it's very interesting. And I wish they explored that a little bit more too. And now on to the bad, which honestly, I don't have that much bad to say in here. The main thing that I think didn't work for me sometimes was the transitioning, the editing sometimes a little wonky. It could be a little tighter. These are like nitpicks in a sense, right? Where I think the pacing was thrown off a little bit. I don't think we got chances to really hang into the emotional moments between Bob Marley and Rita. And there's emotions between Bob Marley and Don Taylor, who's played by Anthony Welsh. And there's moments there that I'm like, oh, we got to hang on to some of these emotional moments here to really make me feel more connected to these characters. And I feel like we would get to a point where it's like, oh, here's the build up, and then boom, we're moving on, and that kind of sucks. And nitpick, but I feel like we could have hung on a little bit longer to give me that emotional oomph. You know what I'm saying? And they do this quite a bit in this movie, and it's another thing in my bad where they just cut at the horrible times, and I'll get to that next. So the other thing that's kind of a problem with this movie, I've watched a lot of Bob Marley documentaries over my life, and I feel like the movie version of Bob Marley that we have gotten here is very clean, very sanitized, very scrubbed, very family-friendly, safe Bob Marley. And I don't think we get that dirt and grit and grime of the life and world that Bob Marley grew up in that impacted him and the way he navigates the world. You know what I'm saying? They really hammer in this peace, love, and happiness agenda that Bob Marley's music is known for, but like there is a chaos that should come with that drives his reasoning to be the music is about peace and unity, and that's what I'm driving for, because you have to watch the documentaries to understand these elements here. And I think that's what's missing in this movie is they talk about certain things, but they don't really delve into it and show you like, yo, his life was rough, and he's a rough man too. Like, he's not clean around the edges, and that's an okay thing to show in our legends, in our heroes, in a sense, right? We don't have to have perfect heroes in order to still love and adore them, because like I think that edge and that chip on the shoulder of a character makes us connect with them even more. And I feel like that's a problem in this movie is we have a very squeaky clean Bob Marley, and we need all sides to the story. And I think that's a big problem with a lot of biopic films. Like, you go back to like Bohemian Rhapsody and stuff, like, and Elton John's movie too, right? They take away a lot of the grime that made these heroes or legends or music icons what they are today. And finally, going back to the editing of this film now, and this okay, so this movie's like, it's building up, okay? It's building up to a big festival appearance, performance in Jamaica at the end of the film, right? It's like the One Love peace concert or something like that. I forget the name of it. I didn't write it down. And we're building up to him coming onto the stage to perform like his iconic song, right? And we're sitting there in the audience, and I'm sitting there, I'm on board. The crowd in the movie is getting ready to sing like One Love, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're getting ready to sing it. I have some tears starting to well up. I'm like, oh, we're going to get the moment. We're going to get the payoff where we get the crowd singing the song with Bob Marley in unity. And you know what this film does? I can't believe they did it. This is the reason why this film almost becomes a 1 out of 5, okay? Because of how they ended this film. They get up to the point where Bob Marley, like, I want to grab my mic, my stand right now, where he grabs it and he's getting ready to sing. And you know what they do? Oh, cut to black. And then they give me a wall of text saying Bob Marley dies in 1983 because of cancer. And I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. I'm this close to crying. Like, that emotional swell up. We did it. Unity. We got the message, Bob. And you cut to black. My tears just went, what? What? It was horrible. Horrible ending, man. It's so, man, that's got to be like one of the worst endings I've seen in a film in a long time, where I was just like, I can't believe you did that to me. And I felt betrayed. I can't believe it, man. And then after that, they show like actual clips of Bob Marley talking, like classic interviews, the one, what is a rich man, possessions and all that stuff. And I started to have a couple tears come in well up a little bit, because you get to see classic Bob Marley just talk, and the radiance of this fella spills through his clips. And I think that's a problem with this movie too, is like the radiance of the legend of Bob Marley coming through Kingsley Ben-Adir isn't there. You know what I'm saying? There's a certain magnetism that Bob Marley has that just seeps through film. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could listen to him talk and it hits your soul on a level that this movie doesn't get to. You know what I'm saying? But the music gets you because it's Bob Marley's music. But the acting doesn't it doesn't hit you in the heart like the real Bob Marley does, right? And that's just it. You know what I'm saying? And that's just how this movie ends. And you kind of have a little like I teared up at the end listening to Bob Marley just talk, like the real Bob Marley talk. And I'm like, man, we failed. Like leaving the theater, I'm walking to my car, and I actually did listen to some Bob Marley on the way home because it just triggered me. And I'm listening to Bob Marley's music, and I'm like, man, we failed you, dog. We ain't peaceful at all, man. We went the wrong route. We didn't get the message, you know? And it made me sad in my car a little bit. And honestly, at the end of the day, when I got home, I definitely pursued a little bit of the green leaf. You know what I'm saying? I did a lot. That's the other thing about watching this movie. Let's put it in the silly. You really want to do some... Like at the end of this movie, I'm sitting there, I'm like, why am I watching a Bob Marley movie sober right now? So yeah, and there's a lot of drug use in this movie, and I loved every minute of it. I was like, good, they did it, you know, that was awesome. So then when I went home, I was ready. So anyways, I have a new note here called suggestions, and this is a new category added to the list. And I want to suggest to you, before you watch this movie, I think you should really go down the rabbit hole. If you're interested in Bob Marley, and this is going to be your gateway into Bob Marley, go back and look at the documentaries of Bob Marley. There's a great one that came out in 2012 called Marley. And I honestly think you should watch that one. And then there's a couple other good ones out there that are talking about the music and elements of his life and stuff like that. So explore the documentaries that are out there about Bob Marley because they're really well done and they will shape and mold a better picture of Bob Marley's life before you watch this film. And I think that's what you should do. Anyways, on that note, I enjoyed the movie, like I said. Will I ever own this movie in my collection? I don't think so. It's not something I never, ever really need to watch again. Yeah, I have no desire to ever watch it again. It was good. It was a good one and done, a good palate cleanser, like I said. Should you go and watch this movie? I would wait till, watch it on streaming. By the time this review comes out, right, it's not even going to be in theaters anymore. So check it out on streaming and tell me what you think about this movie if you've seen it, because I am curious if you think it's worthy of going into the collection in the first place. And on that note, I am going to go now. And whatever movie you are watching, I'll be loving them and digging them. Peace out, everyone. Bye.